Welcome to the Grass Valley booth and the last day of NAB 2018. We are going to talk with Klaus Weber. He is the Principal, Camera Solutions and Technology. So Klaus, what does that mean?
Yeah, as a principal of Camera Solution and Technology, I'm responsible to present the camera solutions and the technology behind, and I'm part of the camera factory which is based in Breda in the Netherlands.
So Klaus, tell us why the market is looking into remote production or at-home production and why that's so special all of a sudden.
Yeah, the thing is, there is a large demand for high quality live content. And it's not only a large demand, it's also that the requirements to the content is changing all the time, and it's changing with an accelerated speed, as we can see. So it means where we had 1080i productions or 720p productions for many years, now we see that more and more 1080 progressive productions are required, but also we see an increasing demand in 4K productions. But not only that, we also see already 8K requirements on the horizon. And it's not only the formats which are changing, also the additional requirements such as high dynamic range, wide color gamut, high frame rate, high speed applications are more and more often requested. And this means remote productions have the capabilities to improve the workflows and makes the whole productions more efficiently.
So, what has been done to increase that efficiency around live production workflows?
Yeah, we see more and more large bandwidth IP networks becomes available for the infrastructure, but also for a connection of remote sites onto a production center. And we can use this high bandwidth IP networks to realize now remote productions more efficiently. And it's not only that you can use your equipment more efficiently, but in addition, also you have less traveling of operational staff, because on site, on the venue where you do the productions, you only need a minimum amount of people, and more people can stay at home in your main production center, and that saves a lot of traveling cost and increase efficiency.
So that all sounds great and wonderful and fantastic, but there has to be some shortcomings to that type of solution.
Yes, well, even so, we do remote productions over our DirectIP connection, which we have between camera and base station, where we can use the 10 gig Ethernet signal, which we transport up and down over regular IP networks. The problem is that still the requirements to the IP network is quite high. So it means we need high performance IP connections, typically layer 2 systems, which are available at some campus site installations, but not very often for remote productions. Nevertheless, we have installations up and running in Europe, for example, where true remote studios connected to a main production center over more than 100 miles distance. But nevertheless, as I said, the requirements are pretty high, so therefore a more efficient way had to be found to use less bandwidth for the productions, and this is where NetInsight came in to the play, because they have the Nimbra system, which offers a possibility to work with only approximately 10% of the bandwidth compared to an uncompressed solution.
And this is a system that people can buy now? It's available?
Well, it is available. As you can see today, we do a remote production here from the Grass Valley booth at the Las Vegas Convention Center, lower floor. And we have two remote production sites connected to here. One is at the NetInsight booth, one floor up, but we also have a second connection to the Calvec booth, which is in the central hall. And we do a full remote production up and down over two IP connections, which we just got from the location here. And to be fair, the total system is not available for shipment now, but we are in the final stages to sort out some small technical issues, but we expect to be able to deliver the complete end-to-end solution in this summer. But since we have Larissa connected to us remotely, as mentioned, I would recommend best ask her about this.
So let's do that. Good morning, Larissa.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, how are you down there?
We are great. So tell us what NetInsight is doing with regard to remote production or at-home production.
So as Klaus just said, we are connecting these 3 different venues together. So the production hub down at the Grass Valley booth with the call rack and the NetInsight booth here. And we do this with our Nimbra equipment. And the Nimbras, they are not new to this. So they are already around for quite a while, doing more than 6,000 remote productions since I think like the last 8 years. And just recently we did one for ARD and SRG from the Korean Olympic Games, and they were here connecting several venues and placed their cameras there and brought them back to the International Broadcasting Center, or as like SRG, even back to Zurich.
And I see that you have a Best of Show award next to you. Tell us about that.
So the Best of Show award we won yesterday for our 1060 terabit networking platform. We just launched that one recently, and that one will allow to transport much more signals with higher capacity about the biggest networks in the world.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Give us some insight, no pun intended, on how NetInsight is contributing to at-home productions and what sets you apart from other solutions that are out there.
So I think there are 3 major things. So one thing we really do very different is we use 100% of the link. So when you have 1 gig of a link, you can also use the full 1 gig. And you can put as many videos as your compression allows you to put in there. So we say about like 5-6 videos if you compress them with J2K. Another one is, of course, the control. So when you control, when you're remote, you need to control the venue, you need to control your network performance, you need to know every service, how is it doing down there, your video, audio, Ethernet, data services, everything. And you also want to monitor them appropriately. And the last one, I think, is also what we're now doing here together with Corvac and Grass Valley, is to set up a system that is very easy to transport solution with a very small form factor that you can put into a car, drive to your venue, and you can log your configuration and you're going live.
So how does NetInsight, or how will NetInsight deal with emerging new IP interfaces and new advanced production technologies such as 4K?
So, at this show here, we have a combination of both traditional and IP connections. So we are already running IS67, SMPTE 2022-6, but we also run MADI and SDI, because these are the configuration you would currently find out there on all the venues. But now with the new platform that I just mentioned, the Nimbra 1060, and combined with the new boards, we have a much higher density. And also now, this new board allows you to spin up services in second to cope with new formats 2110, everything that will come up in the IP world, but also, of course, higher formats like 8K.
Thanks, Larissa, and congratulations again on your Best of Show award.
Thank you.
Right, so Klaus, we've learned that there are great solutions available for transporting camera signals over long distances, using wide area networks, but there have to be some challenges. What are some of the challenges involved with remote production?
Yeah, to gain these reduced bandwidth requirements for remote productions, we need to use compression to the video signal, and compression also means latency. And the compression used in the Nimbra card for the remote productions is based on J2K, which gives us an end-to-end latency of 100 milliseconds. And this does not take into account a potential network latency, which we need to add on, which is, of course, depends on the network itself, the quality, but also especially the distance of the connection. But since the 100 milliseconds is in a similar area or similar range as we had latency for wireless cameras for many, many years already, our belief is, even though that's not ideal, but for most of applications, it is fully acceptable for the camera shaders.
So with regard to workflow, there have to be some challenges. So you mentioned latency, so how is audio handled?
Yes, audio also have, of course, a challenge with latency, but the audio challenges are quite, let's say, different to the video challenges. And since we have Kevin on the Calvec booth connected to us remotely, I recommend let's ask him.
Let's do that indeed. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So give us an idea how CalRec is handling the challenges of latency with regard to remote production.
Okay, well we've heard a lot of talk about latency and control, and the issues are broadly similar. So our challenge is how to deal with both of those issues and do it in a cost-effective and easy way for the customer. So really, let's break it down a little bit. You've got people at the venue, and you've got people in the control room. So at the venue, you've got huge latency issues, and at the control room, you've got control issues that we have to solve. And when you're talking about working remotely as well, you've got lots and lots of those signals going down the same pipe. So you've got control data, and you've got audio data, and you've got video data, and you've got IFBs, and so on and so forth. And also you've got, of course, you've got to deal with those control issues, but you've also got to deal with those issues at the venue.
So at the venue, you have to deal with the technology, but you also have to deal with the talent. So give us an idea of how you deal with the talent at the venue.
Okay. So a great example is the in-ear monitor mixers. So the talent at the venue want to hear a variety of things in their in-ear monitoring. But one of the things they may want to hear is they want to hear their own voice, and they want to hear it with EQ applied, and they want to hear it with dynamics applied, because they actually want to hear it as it's going out live to air. So then, we talked about latency before, but actually the tiny amounts of latency that we need to deal with here, most people can only deal with 5 milliseconds of delay when they're listening to their own voice. And after 5 milliseconds, the delay stops the mouth from working effectively. So we really have to deal with that. And at CalRec, we came up with what we think is a very effective solution. So we have an RP1 box which sits at the venue. So the RP1 is basically a 32-channel mixer, and what that enables us to do, all the mixing for the monitor mixers on site at the venue. That way there is no round trip, and the latency is, there's no problem with the latency because it is all done on site.
So to understand correctly, the mix is produced locally and at the venue, but mixed and controlled remotely from home base.
That's absolutely right, Mike. So while there's no latency because the mix is done locally, we also give control to that remote studio. So we call that system True Control. And what that does, that gives the audio mixer in studio control over things like monitor mix levels and fader mix levels and aux gain, mic gains and auxes and so on and so forth. That allows them to mix the program in the same way that they would mix any other program, because all the signals are coming in the same way. That we can do that over SDI or over MADI or over IP, so broadcasters don't have to invest in any new sort of infrastructure for that. And what it allows the broadcaster to do is maximize the investment they've already made in the studio. We talked about cost savings earlier as well, so that means that mixers don't have to take long-haul flights for travel. It saves cost, it saves time, and it allows the audio mixer, who has to mix lots of things, including a fantastic sounding program, allows them to do that in exactly the same way they would treat any other mix.
Perfect, thanks Kevin. And thanks to Larissa, and thanks to Klaus, and thank you for watching from here at the Grass Valley booth and at the Net Insight booth and from the CalRec booth here at NAB 2018.